welcome to Calculated Play, Games as a Metaphor, Medium and Method. My name is Daphne Dragona, and I've co-curated this year's conference program with Christopher Gansing, the artistic director of the festival. This panel is part of our play stream, which particularly looks into the new role that ballet takes in algorithmic society, examining how game-like media and playful technologies affect our everyday work and life. Our stream refers, on one hand, to a new experience of world which feels more and more like a well-calculated game, where we need to be competitive and to constantly improve and get better, and on the other, to the processes that game elements can also serve and facilitate when integrated in non-game environments. Could it be, then, that play's new role is to capture, control, and predict users' moves and actions? This for sure would be a rather unfortunate finding for what game designer Eric Zimmerman wanted last year to define as our ludic century. We hope that through our conference program we aim to shed light not only on current forms of dark play, but also on the potentiality for change, opposition, and resistance. So what does it mean to use games as a logic, medium, and method? In today's panel, we are happy to have some theorists and artists who are currently involved in the development of game projects. Our panel has been developed in collaboration with Mathias Fuchs from the Gamification Lab of the University of Leuphana, and I should add here that Transmediale has a collaboration with the university for some years now. Mathias is an artist, musician, and writer. He's a leading theoretician in game studies with a great number of academic publications. I should add, of course, that he's one of the pioneers of the game art scene, who started working on Unreal modifications already back in the 90s. He's a professor at Leuphana University Lüneburg and the founder and director of its Gamification Lab. Regarding the structure of the panel, I would like to add that after the presentations, we will also have some interventions and contributions from festival participants. So, Mathias, I give the microphone to you. Enjoy the panel.
Thanks, Daphne, and welcome once more, and hello and good afternoon to this session of Calculated Play, which sounds like a contradictory or a slightly paradoxical notion to me, but we can talk about that later. Our plan for the afternoon is to give two artist theoretician teams the chance to present an effort to use games as a method, actually, to talk about social and political problems. And these two persons groups are Kristian Lukic and Vladan from the Eastwood group, who developed a game that you will also be able to see downstairs in the exhibition. It's called Civilization 6. And that Rossiter, professor from the University of Western Sydney, who together with a team who is also around here, develops and thinks about a game that is called Cargonauts, that deals with the logistics and these big international logistics corporations like SAP, DHL, and you name them. So I think what we would like to do is to give the artists, thinkers, a chance to present their projects, and then maybe discuss a few issues about this notion of games with a political purpose, with these two different standpoints of Ned's and Kristian Vladan's, and to maybe reflect on notions like what does gamification mean in this respect? What does joy, resistance, playfulness mean in this respect? But first I would like to give the microphone to Kristian and Vladan. You have been active in Beograd, where you studied, also in Novi Sad as curators. You founded a group that is called Eastwood in 2002 already, and you've digged your teeth deep into a game that many of you know is called Civilization, by starting a series of paraphrases or ironical comments or artistic comments on these games. And the first one that I knew of was Civilization 3 and 4. Okay, and now we're up to the latest version, which you can see downstairs, which is called Civilization 6. So how did this come about, and what is the idea and the intention with that?
Well, when we started to work together, that We first made our own standalone game, so it was like pure, and I mean we did our own engine, so from the scratch. But in that time we were like playing with copying and playing with the copyright copyleft issue in 2002 with Microsoft. So basically we copied and scanned all music, all the graphics, all the things from the Microsoft Windows Explorer, but the engine was ours, which is mostly opposite. But that opposite thing with Civilization that you mentioned, we did with Civilization 3. And that Civilization 3 game, as probably a lot of you already know, has certain algorithm, certain idea how you progress to game. Basically how you, the main goal in the game is to spread your empire, your civilization, and the idea is to conquer the world through different models, through cultural model, almost through war. But the thing with the culture and kind of inherently in algorithm was that if you do only culture, if you develop only culture, you will fail and someone will attack you. And it was like the main critique on that game. So in that case, we created our Civilization 4 game that we changed. Instead of building civilizations, nations, in 2004, we did the main IT companies in the time. So instead of developing specific things that some civilization needs to develop through the history, like, I don't know, mathematics, engineering, banking, currency, in our game, we did collaboration with one economist. So we were researching in 2004 what needs one IT company in so-called new economy model to develop to be like successful in the market. Instead of the fighters, warriors, we were putting there lawyers, PRs, directors. And our second game in 2008, so this Civilization 4 game of us came before the original Civilization 4. So we did it before. And the Civilization 5 that we did in 2008, we did before their Civilization 5 of famous Firaxis, original creator. And in that Civilization 5 game, we did like focus on Web 2.0, social media companies in 2008, and then you were like in the position of developing Facebook, Google, MySpace. Have anyone still remembers MySpace in that time? And even there was no Twitter. I think we didn't put Twitter in 2008. And in that game, you basically develop the users, mostly teenagers, to fight for your company. And the parents were enemies. So because parents are like stopping you from using social media. So in that game, we focused, let's say, maybe not so kind of ironic, safe as we were in the previous two projects. So we were like focusing on the what is like happening now in the dark internet in terms of like classical warfare, but in a cyber context. So we researched like who are the main protagonists now. At least we try to research like who are the main protagonists in a cyber war, and it's kind of asymmetric between the nation states and the private companies.
So in some way, Kristian, you stole the name from this company who did the commercial Civilization and
so, yeah,
gave it your own artistic interpretation.
We are basically the doing like few steps in front of them and like predicting what they are going to produce or make. So we are stealing the name, and especially for this game we are stealing two different names. The name of this game is Civilization 6, the Age of Warcraft. So we are combining different names of different games. And okay, the game is starting like this. When you start a new game, you can choose between the different agencies like NSA or Travicor or different agencies that are shaping our world of surveillance. Some of them are like national agencies, but some of them are also private, like Travicor hacking team. So let's try with NSA.
So this PLA unit is actually a kind of funny name for the main Chinese state hacker team. And they have really like huge building in Beijing. But their name is still like PLA unit 161398. So maybe they have like, of course, their own name. Or this unit 8200 is Mossad hacker unit. But we don't know who is the owner. Actually, we know the chairman, so Moshe alone, but we don't know nothing else, for example. But in PLA unit, this Wang Dong, I think that Iranian, mostly we get the all information about the all chairmans.
So you are starting a game, you are establishing your own agency. And then you are developing different things. From one side, you are making new units. You can, for example, here create a new malware or make a surveillance drone, or just instead of having workers, have some kind of system administrators. And then you're exploring the cyberspace. Okay. This guy here, he's some kind of net runner. He's going around. So those guys that we conquer now, this is a small activist organization. This one was Hermes, people who were making a wiki, this whistleblowing platforms. So you're going around and collecting resources. What is really, for us, probably in most of the cases, the hardest part is to deal with the civilopedia, because we need to find parallel things to the original game. For example, in original game you are developing a wheel. In our game you are developing, for example, big data and predictive analysis, breaking advanced encryption.
It needs to be logical, like from one thing to another thing.
And then behind that we need to explain all of these really abstract things. So this is our when we are making our version of the game, the problem is that most of the things are already set up in a way of connection between things, and then we are basically making a mosaic of different advances, different things that you need to do in the game. So from one side, for the player, it can be interesting to research all of those terms in order to understand or to learn something new. But it can also play. After some time, so for example, then you have a science advisor. You are, for example, here developing some kind of infowar doctrine, the big picture behind that you need to develop different things in order to progress. But the main goal of the game is to conquer the cyberspace, and to put things maybe more clear, this cyberspace is basically a sum of all of our equipment that exists around. So in this, the field that they are conquering is basically our computers, our privacy, our data that we are producing. In this game, they are competing to conquer different forms of resources. For example, backdoors, GSM data, government data, financial data, infrastructure data, data from internet exchange points, Internet of Things data, so on, so on. Maybe we can load the
microorders.
Okay. For example, in like 20-30 minutes of game, you will discover a lot of different places. You will have an enemies that you can attack.
So just imagine that in the original game, these are the cities, and these are the other civilizations, and you have like warriors between, and they are kind of occasionally fighting or kind of finding the resources.
In the original game you have a barbarians. Here they are some kind of activists.
Because some whistleblowers or activist groups, they're kind of problem for the agencies. So they're quite often like going on nerves to agencies. Wait a minute. Okay. And there's always ranking, like who is the best in the game, like what kind of corporations, what kind of company, agency is the first or not. Okay, so let's try to see. Activists like will run away. Okay.
Kristian, can I ask a question in between? When remember that when you had your former version of Civilization, somebody asked you, well, would this be a trainings program for capitalist managers, because you gave them the possibility to simulate how Intel would kind of take over the world. Now, if I look at your new game, would that be a training camp for espionage or counter-espionage, what you created there?
It could be, but like of course for this real stuff you would need like a real knowledge in detail. It's not like this, but probably like the issue of secret services are becoming more and more important, and the control of secret services or like establishment of your own secret service somehow to influence or to attack or to do something is like important. So maybe this is kind of like small naive, like try to kind of to sneak into how they are kind of building themselves. Because it seems that like any kind of, like a lot of, let's say any kind of, but a lot of like serious social movements are not happening without this logistics of secret service. I mean, coming from Serbia, we a bit learned how the things were functioning and the revolutions, like how revolutions are being executed, who is executing, who is helping.
I don't think that someone can learn how to run secret or like government agency by playing this game. I think it's our level of gamification. It's like not so high.
Okay.
It's more abstract.
That's very interesting. But I think it would already now make sense to maybe let Ned present his game, because at first sight what Ned works about looks like a harmless subject as compared to secret services and terrorist organizations, because these large logistic networks, they have either the appeal of being a helper of mankind, or they're completely invisible. I'm sure a lot of Germans do not know that SAP is the largest player in the field of gamification. Some might not even have heard the name, but maybe they're more influential than the big car manufacturers like Mercedes or Volkswagen or something. And I think that is one of the points where your interest into these logistical companies starts, that they are powerful and that they shape our way of how life and labor interrelate. Could you say a few things about that, please?
Yes, no, certainly.